Spoony.
Yeah! Sage? What the hell are you doing here?
Oh, Spoony, don't you know? It's that time of the year again, where we sit down and review another crappy anime.
No, I mean, how the hell did you get inside my room?
That's not important right now. Come on, we've got Garzey's Wing to review.
Garzey's? What? No, fuck that noise. I don't even like good anime. Why the fuck would I subject myself to another bad one?
Spoony, I expected better of you. This isn't any shitty anime. This is the shitty anime. This is the Battlefield Earth of anime. The Showgirls of anime. The Room of anime.
I get it! I'm just saying, fuck that, and fuck you!
You're letting me down, Spoony. You're letting us down.
Us? What the hell are you talking about? No. You don't mean...
Lars? Oh yeah. He just got transferred. Go on. Why don't you go and pinch a loaf right in there? I'm sure you'll feel all better about Garzey's Wing.
No! That's not true! That's impossible!
Go on. He's been waiting for you. Well, let's do it.
Back in the mid-90s, before anime was as annoyingly prevalent and oversaturated as it is today, anime was strictly a nerd-only market. There wasn't a large amount of money to be gained with such a small, albeit devoted audience, so a lot of the imports that were brought over to America were cheaply made OVAs that bombed in Japan, but also had cheap licensing prices for underfunded companies. This meant that there was a deluge of poorly animated and dubbed monstrosities that have no business being professionally distributed, permeating the early anime market.
Today, you can probably find the last remnants of these schlock titles in bargain bins and overstock websites. You know, if you're that deranged and starved for a cheap laugh.
Hey, Benton, don't crap your pants if you see a vampire out there.
Get lost. You wouldn't recognize a goddamn vampire if one jumped up and bit you on the end of your fucking dick. So just get off my back.
And right smack dab in the middle of all of this is Garzey's Wing, a notorious 3-episode miniseries that is considered by most old school anime fans as the worst thing to come out of Japan since Yoko Ono. Why?
It makes no fucking sense!
Trust me, you can watch this 1,000 times over and you'd still be completely stumped as to what exactly happened or why. That is, if you don't keel over from an aneurysm first. It's stupid, nonsensical, overwrought, and absolutely baffling. In other words...
It's anime.
The series begins with our hero, Chris, being accosted by his girlfriend, sister, mother? I have no clue. All I know is her name is Rumiko, and she loves to bust balls.
You are so easygoing.
We're only a minute into this, people, and already I feel like the show has taken a dump in my brain.
Well, to be fair, the cast and the writing are consistent throughout, but to be unfair, the cast and the writing are consistently horrendous. These are community player actors trying to emote from a direct and awkwardly translated script, all the while being directed by what has to be the laziest voice director in existence. I've heard more natural dialogue and delivery from a fucking Speed Racer cartoon.
My necklace is rattling. I wonder, could it be the Shiratori Shrine?
Anyways, we see Chris speeding along on his motorcycle when all of a sudden, this happens.
Pussy.
What follows is 30 seconds of complete mindfuckery. I can't even begin to summarize what we're seeing here. Keep in mind, we're only a minute and a half into this, and we literally have zero context for any of this.
What the? Who are you? A damn ghost?
Why do you think this is the work of a ghost?
Then who are you? Are you Yamato Takeru no Mikoto?
A man is falling down. A young man, isn't he? That's a Dirigo!
What? What is going on?
What's that light?
Ah!
Whoa! Hey!
Oh!
Get down on the other side!
Looks like Garzey's wing!
Oh, it's shining!
Was that so stupid it brought me back to life?
Hair of the dog that bit you.
So, from what I can gather, Chris has been whisked away from his world into another world to help the enslaved people of this new world from dinosaurs? Oh, and also, Chris has no penis.
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
And just when you think this couldn't be any more incoherent and confusing, the show refuses to let any scene go on longer than a fucking nanosecond. We're barely able to follow along with a story such as it is, when the show completely shifts gears and focuses on inconsequential bullshit. It's only when you sit through the entire thing do you realize just how irrelevant these scenes really are.
Of course that's assuming you don't just jettison the disc into the fucking sun like any normal person would.
So we find out that the people of this world are enslaved by a king that I think goes nameless, and that Chris is some sort of warrior of prophecy here to lead the people into freedom.
Only in anime can you find a story so simplistic and yet so baffling. How do you fuck up an archetypal story like this?
We meet up with Chris and the escaped slaves in a marsh that's infested with gigantic bug creatures, where we also meet the most annoying pixie since Navi from the Ocarina of Time.
Come on! What are you doing? Act like a holy warrior!
I have nothing to do with it!
You appeared wearing Garzey's wing! Who else would you say you are?
Sage,
Yes.
how much would you charge for killing whoever voiced this abomination?
Cheaper by the second.
Strange! Little, what's your problem? Do you think I'm weird?
I wouldn't go that far.
We would.
So Chris helps guide the slaves down a raging river that appears out of nowhere, when all of a sudden the show cuts back to Chris back in his world on his motorcycle. Not only does this make no sense whatsoever, but the sudden shift is so jarring I literally get whiplash trying to follow it.
It turns out that Chris's spirit and his body have been separated, I guess. The show never really explains this at all. Luckily, though, the spirit is able to communicate to his body through a special necklace that they both wear.
Oh, my body is aching. What happened? I was bruised all over my body because I had to fight naked. Mom told me I have bruises all over my body. Is there any connection to this? There is a war going on. Even dinosaurs are here. And they use bows and arrows. My sword is unbelievably dull. I'm not joking. 12th and 13th century foreigners surround me. I must somehow make sense of our convoluted situations.
Please!
So the Chris in our world tells the Chris in the other world to create gunpowder to help them fight, and the tactic seems to work pretty well as the king's forces are rendered helpless against the explosive attacks, no matter how hard they try to electric slide out of the way.
The army has Chris and the enslaved trapped in a cave, and despite all the explosive weaponry at their disposal, it seems that there is no end to the pursuing soldiers. After a series of disjointed, impossible to follow shots of random explosions and soldiers being killed, Chris is forced to go toe-to-toe with the head commander. The ceiling collapses on them, separating the two, finishing their fight, leaving Chris to yell for no reason whatsoever and lift his sword in the air like he's fucking He-Man.
We then come across a title crawl that explains that this is a world called Byston Well, and it lies somewhere between heaven and hell. It's good that we get some sort of exposition, but couldn't it have come a little bit sooner? Like before the last of the audience's brain cells evaporated?
We catch up with Chris as he's learning how to ride a horse, or unicorn, or horse with an ice cream cone stuck to its head. Apparently, he still has much to learn.
I guess the footstraps must be helping him.
I intentionally fell off to protect the horse's feelings.
I never thought that the sound of laughter could be agonizing.
Meanwhile, the king's forces are regrouping and planning their attack on the escaped slaves. Well, at least I think that's what they're doing. I can't really tell because every other word they're saying is made-up baby talk.
It is most effective to place a Duraga roll at Gabujuju. You should destroy the Matomius with the War Beast Army Corps.
But if you use the Dragarolls at Gabajuju, won't the Nixaflux flank you at Nixafluckachuckafuck?
This is about the time where the show finally puts on the brakes and tries its very hardest to flesh out the story and the setting. What with all the forced, unnatural, and painful exposition being choked out line after line. It doesn't help that the actors cannot for the life of them make this wooden dialogue the least bit interesting.
Since it's a leap year, we had every reason to believe that we could get through Sweetweed Road. That's why I carried out the escape.
You know, a legend has a meaning. I'm sure we can get there.
Of course, when the show isn't wasting time with spoon-feeding us necessary information that we should have known ages ago, it's wasting time with pointless action scenes, although these scenes tend to be a lot more unintentionally hilarious.
Are you going to use it like the Gara?
Absolutely, it should be more effective this way.
I see, it looks so easy.
It's what we call a drug in my world.
If you taste it or smoke it, you get happy and do crazy things.
Yes, it's a bit dangerous.
Drugs. They're a bit dangerous.
But when it comes to time wasting, nothing in the show compares to the scenes where the two Chris's talk with each other. This is probably the most needlessly confusing element to the entire show, and considering the fact that the hero entered this world on the wings of a technicolored goose, that is saying something.
You sure look good for someone preparing for an exam.
You certainly got sexy.
So the bad guy in gold tricks the beasts of the area to attack Chris and the others in a pointless battle that manages to kill 8 minutes of screen time. But honestly, the only reason why we're even bringing this whole sequence up is because this one character in a hood appears out of nowhere and fucking dive bombs a Hydra. And when the others appeal to him for help with their cause, we're treated to what has to be the worst voice actor ever.
Sataurad, would you give us honor and come with us?
Although we can't pay you until after we rebuild our country.
No, I'd like to stay on my own. Although I'm looking for an employer, I would rather watch the Matomia success from the distance.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm late for my audition as King Lear.
With the beasts defeated, the Chris's contact with one another, and they formulate modern strategies and technology to help them in the fight, including plans for a makeshift rifle. These new plans are sent out to be implemented among the soldiers, although not everyone is happy about it for some reason.
All right, our Frio, have the young people practice this. But they want to try it.
All right.
Developing a gun is Ondel's very special assignment.
And you know what the hell of it is? They never use a gun. They don't even show one being built.
The rebel slaves figure that if they can take the offensive and destroy the king's supply, they'll be able to hamstring the army and gain the upper hand. So there goes another 5 minutes just watching choppy, disjointed battle scenes. Are we the good guys or the bad guys?
Fuck if I know, just keep fighting! It's about here that I think the show realized that it's only got half an hour left to screw with our heads, so it decides to pull the drag chute and just amble on and on with these completely pointless, boring, and non sequitur scenes. After the rebels manage to capture the enemy's supplies, they continue on into this canyon for whatever reason, and we keep cutting back to the Chris's in our world who is progressively getting worse and worse, despite the Chris in the other world being fine and dandy. Seriously, the show spends 10 minutes just running its wheels like this, just showing scene after scene that have nothing to do with each other. Not even the hilariously awful dub can save these last few scenes from being completely unwatchable. It's like the show is going out of its way to be irredeemable.
Oh, they really are there! But I won't be afraid now. I will go and scout it out.
See what I mean?
How is it possible that scenes of medieval soldiers riding armored velociraptors being tossed into the air with explosives can be so fucking tedious and boring to sit through? This show has done the impossible here, folks. It has made the ridiculous boring. Anyway, the fight doesn't seem to be going well for the rebels, but Rumiko, you know, the ballbuster from forever ago at the beginning, plays the cheerleader for Chris in our world at his bedside, and this somehow gives Chris in the other world the courage and spirit to keep fighting on. I know this is all sorts of cheesy and cliche, but at this point, this is the least of the show's problems.
1, 2, 3, 1, 2, what? Whoa! Whoa! Stop it! Hey, let me go!
Why is a Valerio flying here, I wonder?
Yes?
Hey, let's rip her legs apart.
Yes?
Damn you! I'll get you! Don't do it! Don't touch me! Get away!
Yes!
Oh, bastard! Ah!
Hey, wait!
No!
Those bitches! Those sons of bitches! They only put that scene in there just to piss people off! You don't take the most annoying character, put them in a sure death situation, and not fucking deliver!
I swear to God, if I ever meet that woman, demon harpy, thing that voiced that fucking pixie, I will dunk her head in a bucket of lye!
Spoony, calm down. It's almost over.
No! Kill! Kill! Murder!
He needs another-
Death!
Come on!
Kill! Knives! Floods of blood! Ah!
So the last general of the king's army manages to outduel the rebels and their exploding gunpowder and is about to kill the rebels' spiritual leader when Chris snaps into action. You know, I forgot to mention this because of all the bullshit that the show keeps stacking up on all of us, but Chris is able to call upon the power of Garzey's wing to fly around in the most undignified way imaginable. Actually, second most.
Pooh, my man, he flies like a moron. Dun, dun, dun.
He has the power to rear project major cities.
Chris, use this!
Yeah!
Thanks, bitch, that totally helped! Actually, the power of Garzey's wing is so badass, it seems, that all Chris needs to beat the big baddie is a broken sword handle and an unbelievable amount of bullshit. Well, with the general breathing his dying breaths, Chris is urged to deal him the final blow, but he is reluctant to do so, despite having killed dozens of soldiers not just 5 minutes ago. I guess it has something to do with not wanting to give in to peer pressure. Anyways, he does so, which causes him to blow chunks.
Oh no!
I'm not sure.
He's just a human. Humans are just human.
Humans are just human. Did Ed Wood ever work as a translator before he died?
So with the king's forces defeated and the two Chris's remaining separate for whatever reason, the Chris from our world decides to go on a motorcycle ride with Rumiko and fly off into the sky as a final insult to the audience's intellect. End.
Garzey's wing is indescribable. It's beyond human words. It's on a level unto itself. To view it is almost transcendent. It is, in a phrase, the perfect bad anime. Hey, Noah. Did you have a nice time?
Yeah.
Aw, that's nice. Hey, good news. No more Garzey's wing. It's over.
Let's go Garzey's wing.
Damn, that guy's good.